Hey, everybody. It is Lauren DeLisa Coleman here with the Inside series for Filmio. I have another episode for you from all the coverage that we're bringing during Tribeca Film Festival, or I should say Tribeca Festival. They changed it this year, and I keep going back to it's been 20 years of Tribeca Film Festival. What can you say? But I'm so glad that we're really able to bring you another interview from great creators from the immersive space, because I wish that each and every one of you could see this in person, just the work that they've put into it, and especially this one. So I have the co-creators of a project called Plastisapiens, which I can't wait to get into this with you guys. I have both Miri Chekanovich and Edith Jorish, who are joining us now. They're back in Canada. Thank God they're feeling safe and well, because there seemed to be a little COVID running around at Immersive. I don't know, but we won't talk about that. We'll talk about good times, which is this project. You guys, thanks so much for joining us here at the Inside series. Can you give us, first of all, a brief synopsis? And it's of course, multi-layered, and that's what makes it so wonderful, but a brief synopsis of Plastisapiens.
Yeah, sure.
Which of you wants to be the victim? No.
I can start with maybe the one-liner, and then maybe you can dive in.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
So, Plastisapiens is a 15 minutes VR experience. It's a surreal eco-fiction. It's kind of a science fiction where we imagine a world where plastic and organic beings merge to become one. So it's a speculative work in which we imagine the human identity of tomorrow and how plastic is now affecting our DNA.
I think that's a beautiful way to sum it up, because there are, like I said, a lot of different moving parts, if you will, to I think kind of the mission of this, which is what makes it so rich. So Mary, what do you want to add to that?
I would say it's anchored in science, because we really know that plastic is everywhere. It's everywhere in our water systems, and we starting to see articles coming out that we have plastic in our blood and placenta of pregnant women. And so it's really, when we wrote Plastisapiens, it was kind of a fiction, but actually some parts of it are really becoming reality. And it's anchored in science in the sense that we know that plastics contain xenoestrogens, that are molecules that really resemble estrogen hormones. And that's why we're actually, the more our environments are filled with plastic, and because we are permeable beings, we're not protected from, we're porous, then we are actually getting these xenoestrogens, and it really modifies our hormonal compositions, and we're becoming actually literally biologically queer in our physiology. So that's what kind of started our work. So anchored in science, but then we thought, okay, well, how do we imagine it as a kind of a science fiction, and use irony as a method to tell a story where maybe it's not just scary, but it can be something else. That's what we tried to do.
I just think this is so amazing, and it's so interesting, because I'm going to say maybe 4 months ago, I just decided, how you just kind of wake up to different things, and it's kind of always I feel humming in the background of just the narrative of, or all of us in the collective consciousness. But something was just Lauren, you really need to start getting rid of so many plastics in your day. And I don't know what made me feel like that, but I started kind of really being cognizant of it. And like you said, not a freak out, but just kind of looking around. I was wait a second. So I'm filtering all my water every day, but it sits in that plastic container. So then I bought a glass one. So I transfer it over. And I had been buying some other things, that's easy, okay, spinach that's already cleaned and washed and everything, but it's in that plastic bag. So you're eating the spinach for the good quality, but then you're eating plastic. So I was you know what, why don't you buy it as it comes naturally, and wash it off and do it yourself. A lot of these things we just have to think about, because yeah, you really don't know what the long-term effects are. And I'm just a big one on just detox anyway, like dandelion tea, chlorella, spirulina, you know what? I'm like always looking this stuff up. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a dream come true for somebody like me. Where it's being expressed, but in a really creative way. So let's talk a little bit about first how you guys kind of came together on this project, and then how you began to realize this, because you have a massive team that worked with you on this. And I just want to preface this, you guys, by saying that this is yet another wonderful offering from the National Board of Canada, and really on point. Whoever is like, just driving all of that in terms of making sure you guys are where you need to be and following up, and the media relations, it's stellar. And so I'd love for you to also be able to address how and when that came into the picture as well for support. So go for it.
Yeah, well, actually, National Film Board of Canada initiated the project.
No way.
They made a call for entry. Like they wanted some stories about new identities told in a new way of storytelling. So that's when Miri and I applied with different stories, and we didn't know each other. So I'm a filmmaker, and Miri is a visual multidisciplinary artist. And so we both applied with a project, and we met this way, and we realized that we had really similar projects, interests, and teams in our practices. So we decided to merge our ideas, and this is where Plastisapiens.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much, especially because you do have very different, as you said, disciplines. I mean, you, Edith, I don't know like where your work hasn't been seen, on what network it hasn't been seen, right? And then Miri, I just love how, and I wrote this down because I love how, you describe yourself as like, a biomaterials and video and installation kind of artist, if you will, but also science as well, right? Or scientist. So the fact that like you guys can kind of come together, because those are kind of, as they always say, like two different sides of the brain. Like, I love how you balance each other out, right? And that you were like, we can do this together. So at what point did it become more of like a VR project? Because you could have taken the traditional route of film on this, right? And made it a little more docu-style or something. How did you decide to lean into this like fully and allow people to experience actually becoming something new in VR?
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, the part of the initiative of the National Film Board of Canada was about new technologies. We both didn't know when we started thinking about that, and then it became clear that kind of the direction would go to VR. And so the whole project is actually thought for the medium. And we really were thinking, okay, why VR is the best tool for this story, and how can we use this kind of tell this story in this interactive way. And of course, that comes in a collaboration with a lot of people that are experienced in this medium and can help us take our ideas and bring them into the medium in a coherent way.
Absolutely.
I think also what was interesting in the process is that we had the idea, and while we were doing it, we were learning about the technology. So
that's what I was actually going to ask you. What is the learning curve like? Because you're learning about the technology as you are creating the project. So it can be very overwhelming, no?
Yeah, but at the same time, very exciting, because we could bounce with people who, like, we work with Studio DPT, who are really used in different kind of XR experiences. So we would tell them, like, we really want to create this experience, this story where the participants feel like he's becoming something else, like he's becoming a Plastisapiens. His hands are changing. He gets at some point like tentacles, and then at the end he has like plastic, very fluid hands. So we would tell them like what we want, and then they would tell us how can we make the participant feel like he's absorbing all his environment, because that's what the story is also about, that we're porous being, and that the environment and us are gently merging.
So because of that experience, what is maybe a major tip that you guys might have for other creatives in this space who might be entering into some part of the XR world, or anytime, you're working with those who are very proficient in high tech or emerging tech, and you have to be able to kind of, communicate with them about a creative concept. What might you tell even yourself now, looking back, like at the beginning of the project, that you're like, oh, if I had said this, or I've learned that next time when I do this, I'm going to, I don't know, either lay out things differently or what have you?
Yeah, of course, now we know so much more than when we started. I would say really maybe focus on the experience of the participant, like really sit in the perspective of you going through a journey. Even in sense of timing and narration, all of these elements, really like make sure you sit with it and experience it every step of the way, because it's a really different medium than a video on a screen.
Absolutely. Anything you might want to add?
Yeah, what I would add is it's not always really accessible doing some VR experience, but if you have the chance, like do as many as possible and try to find what touches you in the experience, because it can get a bit like gimmicky or
I totally agree with you.
I don't like, the technology must not take over the story and what you're really feeling, because it's really a medium of like feeling things in a different way than in many more layers than just like a normal flat. So yeah, for us, like when we started, we didn't get the chance to see that much experience. But now that we've seen more, we understand what are like the infinite possibility of the medium.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think? I mean, maybe this is a great time to ask this question. What do you think is going to be maybe the future of VR projects? I'll tell you, I was on the roof. I hope you guys got to get out into some sunshine while you were there, because I know you have to man the posts in the immersive area. But the rooftop was great. There was a lunch after the Tribeca X Awards and stuff. And so we were just happened to start talking about, VR. And as you had mentioned, Edith, how it was so kind of not gimmicky, yes, but also kind of rather silly. Like, I don't know, starting maybe at least when I entered into the scene, maybe 6 years ago, and it was all like cats in VR. And you're like, okay, but what's going to happen with it, right? So obviously the storytelling has expanded, but there's still not really a business model or something around this medium per se, right? I don't know if it's because it's not necessarily intuitive to put something on one space and do only one thing at a time, or, maybe it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people for, the apparatus and the device. But what do you guys think, having really worked within it and see the value? What do you think is going to come of VR in the next couple of years? Because I feel like every year is supposed to be the breakout year for VR. Even like I said, as most recent as I've been in it in 6 years, right? And we still haven't really seen it become massively adopted.
Mm-hmm. But if I can start, I think it should be in parallel, like we as creators really develop different types of stories and really think of the medium and how really use that medium for the specific story, not just because it's cool. And in parallel, how to make this technology accessible, because it's expensive. It's really expensive to create in VR. It requires expertise. Not just anyone can just like take a camera and go. In that sense. So, and also there's not many venues in the world that allow this, facilitate VR. So just in Tribeca, we had 3 chairs for our experience. And let's say the place is open from 10 to 5. Let's be like super technical about it. And the amount of people who would see it in a day is not much, right? Because it's every person is 15 minutes, and so the turnaround is not that massive as in film. Yeah, I would say how to make this more accessible. That would really change things.
Edith, anything you'd like to add, or you just agree with?
Yeah, I think there's like a lot of people who know this VR, this medium more than me, who could have better answers. But of course, I think there's like a lot of possibility with this to create a lot of empathy and the force of embodiment, who can really touch you. And when you're not a viewer, you're participating to the story. It's really a great way to connect and to be touched. So I don't know what will happen with this, but I think if it's used in a positive way, it could have a great impact on people's life, and in different, not only in art, but in like therapeutic things. Or so yeah, I'm curious to see what where science and artists and storytellers will take us, but it's still a bit uncertain.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me just briefly what it was like when you got the notification that you were accepted into Tribeca, and what was the experience like there for you?
Yeah, we're very honored, and we're both really happy because it was our world premiere for Plastisapiens.
Right.
And also we got an opportunity to build a whole installation for it. So it really came to, I guess it manifested, embodied also in space. It was I was really grateful. And I think for me, the most rewarding thing in creating artworks or VR or whatever was really to see people and put the headset on and say bon voyage, and then after 15 minutes, like kind of taking care of them and asking like, how did you feel? How was this for you? Because it's, you dive into a different world. And yeah, for me, I had some magical conversations and
that's so
seeing
the reactions. Yeah.
And Edith, what about you?
Well, I think that project was mainly done during the pandemic. So through Zooms, and also it's all like computer design. So there was like no shoot. So it was really, really fun to be able in Tribeca to like bring this virtual experience in a physical world with this installation. And also one of our, at the beginning, when we wanted to do this experience, we wanted it to be really multisensorial, and we wanted to make people eat plastic, so that before doing the experience, like edible plastic, which is like Miri can do this in her lab, so that when you eat the plastic and then you become in the story, you become a Plastisapiens. So it was for us a really great opportunity in Tribeca to be able to, like the 2 first days, we were giving people plastic caviar at the beginning of the experience. So they would eat this, and then in the experience, a voice will tell them that, like, put your
tongue up your palate. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I love how you guys really brought in all different kind of senses to make this happen, right? It just wasn't only through the headset, and there's also like music around and everything too within your installation. So what do you hope people take away most from Plastisapiens?
Yeah, I guess we wanted to bring this like heavy and sometimes depressing and scary subject into actual something that you can chew on and have a conversation about without that paralyzing fear. So for us, I think the main goal was to bring it in a fantastic way, which will allow you to imagine maybe the way that plastic really helps us become better beings. And so from that state of consciousness to make change, make difference, I guess, from, like you said, with the spinach and your daily little world. Like, how can that really make a difference in your world? And from that, maybe someone who, I don't know, works in the government can see that and like maybe have a larger impact on like a larger group of people and so on. And
Right. Judith, do you want to add anything, or
yeah, I wanted to say that in a way we wanted to kind of heal people from eco anxiety. Well, we know we cannot heal
anxiety. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I know it's kind of impossible, but that's why the experience is so like meditative, and that we're using like an ironic tone and like some voices telling you that plastic is wonderful, you can do whatever with it. But of course, we know that that's not true. So we wanted to create this kind of mixed feeling that you're like attracted to it, but you don't know why. So it brings a reflection and then conversation, rather than just like a frightening experience where you like that. This we see everywhere. We see it in the news. So we wanted to play with that irony. So I don't know exactly what we want people to think at the end, but we wanted to just open the conversation. And
great. So I guess finally, how can people at least experience this online? Because I think it is still online, correct? And then how can people like keep up with you guys? I'm assuming across social. I don't know if you have a site around, maybe just this kind of initiative or movement overall. I don't know, but now is your time to promo.
I'm sure the experience will be available on Oculus stores. I'm not sure when. We're not really doing the distribution ourselves, but and we have a link with all the information about us, each of us as creators, and what inspired the work in terms of text. And if you want to kind of dive in with us to this universe, it's part of the NFB website. And if you just click Plastisapiens NFB, you'll find the page.
Right. And so NFB, obviously, for the National Film Board. I thought there was a flat version though online, because I saw that as well, but maybe that's
going to
go
just a teaser.
After a while.
It's a teaser.
Right.
And the plan is that we'd like to show it in more festivals. So that's why it's not yet online, but the plan is that it's going to be.
Great. Okay. So anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
If you're in New York, you can still go to Tribeca till the 19th. So it's on, and I don't know, maybe send us feedback. I think I'm always curious to see what people have felt, and
Great. Yes, absolutely. I'm just so glad that you guys were able to collaborate almost out of the blue, like this, and really be able to bring what's really a very cool and edgy vibe to something that is, I think, going to become certainly much more part of the narrative, because it's just, it's like everywhere. And because of what it does, not just like, oh, who cares? You have a lot of plastic in your body, but just about this delicate hormonal dance, and especially for women with this, that I don't think has really been analyzed, because plastics didn't enter our society until relatively recently, right? So it's not like we have research on this from back in like the 1700s. There was nothing like this. So yeah, like you said, not a freak out, but just something to think about. Make some little changes. I think little changes are like even, very, very powerful, right? Yeah. So there you have it. But you guys, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad that you're feeling well. Stay in Canada, breathe fresh air. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have enjoyed this episode, part of our massive Tribeca Festival coverage. Definitely click on the very next interview, because we have a couple of others coming up as well from Immersive and a couple of others. So you'll have to check it out. I am Lauren DeLisa Coleman. Thank you so much for watching the Inside series here at Filmio.